Yes, I'm dressed as Nezuko. Are we beyond it? Cool, let's get to the video. And since I'm doing this whole video in a cosplay because I was too lazy to change, how about you go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the noti bell, because who knows, maybe at another point I'll be in another cosplay for a video, maybe one cuter than this. The subject of today's video has nothing to do with Demon Slayer. I was just playing the new Demon Slayer game, but it does have to do with Kakashi, and actually, technically, everyone. But for the sake of a simple explanation, let's go ahead and break it down like this. The question that we're asking here is, could Kakashi get his Sharingan back? And the short answer is no. He couldn't get his Sharingan back, that being Kamui, because it went out with Obito when he got hit by an ash-killing bone and turned into dust like an Avenger snap. But that doesn't mean he couldn't get a Sharingan, and for that matter, it doesn't mean that literally anyone with enough chakra could get a Sharingan. What could I possibly mean by this? Now that's a great question, because today we're talking about one of the biggest plot holes in all of Naruto, Obito's laboratory. For those of you who don't remember the beginning of the war arc, I can't say I blame you, not a whole lot happened. But essentially, we found out that Obito had a laboratory. This laboratory was located in the mountains graveyard. This area exists in the northernmost region of the land between the village hidden in the waterfalls and the village hidden in the sound, Orochimaru's village. Which, like, if we're being real, like, is he just ignoring that village? Does that village still exist? Like, we see the Sound Village 5, right, in the Sasuke retrieval arc, but then there's never another mention of the Sound Village. And like, are they just like sitting around waiting for when Orochimaru's gonna come back? Because he's in a lair. What were we talking about? Oh, yes, the mountain graveyard. This area is really cool, and it's actually very mysterious because it's barren, it's covered in trees, and the bones of massive creatures are strewn about all throughout it. What do these bones belong to? We have no idea, but their rib cages make them about the size of a tailed beast. This hideout was used by Madara in the later stages of his life in order to extend his life. Essentially, this is where Madara awoke his Rinnegan by adding Hashirama's cells onto his body, and then used those Rinnegans in order to summon the Ghetto statue, or the demonic statue of the outer path, down to the lair so he could then build a non-sentient clone of Hashirama that can grow inside this husk of the Ten Tails, connect that to himself like a life supply system, or like a life support system, I guess, and extend his life way past its natural means, living for over 150 years. This is also where Madara took Obito in order to bind half of a white Setsu, aka Hashirama's cells, onto him and save his life. Therefore, a lot has been done with this laboratory before it was even Obito's laboratory. In fact, it was occupied before Madara even got there. It's actually the Otsutsuki clan's ruins. We know it has a bunch of tunnels because Obito was picked up by white Zetsus who came through a tunnel all the way from those ruins to the village hidden in the grass that were sent by Madara. And then he was carried back after we all thought that the Rock had soloed him. And this is all fine, but the plot holes begin when Obito takes it over. The biggest problem that we see with this situation is that Obito takes the Sharingans from all of the Uchiha massacre victims and puts them on a wall in a bunch of jars in the laboratory. That's right, while Itachi was off murdering everyone, Obito was walking around picking eyes up like they were blueberries off bushes. And from what we saw, he collected most of the Sharingans from the Uchiha clan. In fact, he went so far with his collection of Sharingans that he took Danzo's body after Sasuke killed him and took out every single Sharingan off his body and put it on the wall. His entire purpose, though, was to get Shisui's Sharingan back from his face, but Danzo crushed it while he was dying. We love a petty king, so we know it's there. And the next time we see it is when Sasuke gets Itachi's eyes put into him by Obito. And here's where people start to kind of make assumptions about why this theory isn't actually a plot hole. Essentially, when Sasuke awakens from the surgery and now has EMS, he uses his Amaterasu and his Kakatsuchi, his flame control, to destroy part of the laboratory. And this is where people say that Sasuke destroyed the eyes. He also destroys part of the laboratory while escaping from Obito, and this is another circumstance where people say he destroyed all of the eyes. But here's the thing, this hideout is the size of a mountain, and we see Sasuke destroy maybe 10% of it. Also, the room he wakes up in and then subsequently destroys isn't the Sharingan wall room. So to assume that Sasuke, while his little rant and tantrum was going on, destroyed the Sharingan wall is kind of a big leap. Another misconception that gets passed along about this theory is that this hideout was in the Kamui dimension. Would that make a little bit of sense? Of course it would. Obito is the only person that he knew of that could access it, and he could keep the eyes there for safekeeping. But here's the thing, that's not the truth. Because Kabuto is able to find the hideout, and therefore so is Anko, by following a trail of bodies, and neither of them have access to the Kamui dimension, meaning that this exists on Earth. And the even worse part than that, remember those tunnels? That means there is technically tunnels that lead from every major village to these clan ruins where every Sharingan from the Uchiha clan resides. And the craziest bit about this is that Kabuto, Anko, and Sasuke all know where it is. I can credit Kabuto and Anko for not knowing where it is, maybe just forgetting how they got there originally without the pile of bodies to follow. It's a possibility they only went once, but Sasuke, I simply cannot forgive for this. Why, you ask? And that's a great question. It's because Sasuke went back. 15 years after the war arc, Sasuke returns to the laboratory because there's a bunch of white Zetsu who have been hanging out there, and he goes back to kill them all. This is another situation where everyone's like, well, he destroyed the Sharingans while killing the white Zetsus. We don't know that. So now we have a wall of possible Sharingans that comprise every single Sharingan ability that was in the Uchiha clan when they were massacred, and Sasuke knows where they are. He could replace Kakashi's eye. He could put 2 in Naruto and have him instantly awake Rinnegan. Hell, he could give them to Sakura, and yet he doesn't do that. Why, you ask? Well, the obvious answer is they were destroyed, but the less obvious reason is he wants to remain useful. Sasuke could reveal to the entire village where the Sharingan eyes are, and everybody with enough chakra to activate them and control them would get a Sharingan immediately. But he now exists as the key progenitor of the Uchiha clan. Every Sharingan runs through him and him alone. If you reintroduce every Sharingan to the leaf, he becomes irrelevant. Especially with how strong this generation is, many awakenings of Mangekyo Sharingans would occur almost instantly. Or it's just an incredibly massive plot hole, and they just want to pretend that they didn't draw every single Sharingan behind Obito and never show them actually get destroyed. So the rest of us, especially me, can lose their mind screaming at the screen saying Kakashi and Naruto could all have Sharingans and this whole Ishiki thing would be raps. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who yells at a screen alone in his room. But if you guys hate this plot hole as much as I do, or if I've convinced you of the theory that Sasuke is the worst guy in Naruto, make sure you like this video and you hit subscribe on the page and you click that noti bell, because we post 3 times a week out here, and who knows, maybe one day it'll be more, and you will get all the noties for when I post. I'm not using this theory as a reason to hate Sasuke more, but it doesn't help.